Hello and welcome everyone to our part 5 of the Buddhist book club. We are going to be continuing our reading of the book by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Art of Living. We're going to be having some discussion, some group reading, some meditation. So you are very invited to join us on this journey of introspection, cultivation, and bringing a peace and a happiness into our life. So as we usually do, we're going to be sitting around for about 10 minutes, and that is to let people join us in our live event. And so at the 10-minute mark is when we will officially begin our practice together. So if you are watching this after the live is already over, you can move ahead to the 10-minute mark. And if you're here already, okay, great. Glad that you're here. I see Chesh, Miss Maddie, and Charity in the Discord VC, which is great. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can also say hello. Hey there, Liz. Hey there, Robert, watching on YouTube. How is the audio and video quality on YouTube? Does everything sound okay? Everything up to snuff? Up to, yeah, I think that's the right word. Is it good? Okay, Miss Maddie, you can hear me fine. That's great. Hey there, Yusuf. Welcome. I think my mic's a little bit hot, a little bit loud. So great to see already many people joining us. We will get started in a little over 5 minutes. And we're still in chapter 1 of The Art of Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. This reading through this whole book, I don't know, it might take a long time, but it's a worthwhile book to spend a long time on. And the portion that we will be starting with today is called Is There Reincarnation? The section called Is There Reincarnation? Oh, hello Andreas and May and yeah, Yusuf also. How are you all doing? How is everyone?
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'm
I
doing
can
great.
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm happy to be here. I hope everyone is doing well.
Hello Abi and Ariana.
Hi, Bante.
Hello, Bante and everyone. I'm happy to be here and I'm doing good. Thank you.
And I see Robert and Liz and Matt and Trina and Keem and JJ and Susan and Rob from Australia and Matt C over on the YouTube live chat. So that's great. Robert says in the YouTube live chat, what does reincarnation actually mean? I think we're going to find out. I think that's going to be the first topic of our reading today. Okay, hey Vanessa and Yusuf, glad to hear you're doing great. I should probably put a timer in the video, but I don't know how to do that. Maybe I'll ask someone in the future so that people join in, they just see us sitting here and they think, "Oh, that's pretty boring." But if you wait just a few more moments, 4 minutes, then we're going to get started with the exciting stuff. Hey there, Shoshana and Sean and Sarah. And of course, if you are watching on TikTok and you're interested in the Buddhist Book Club, you should definitely hop over to the YouTube channel where we have high quality 4K widescreen live stream from, it sure looks like somewhere in Myanmar, probably Bagan. So the YouTube channel is called Monk Life. And if you search on YouTube for Welcome to Monk Life, or if you just search for Monk Life, you'll find our live stream that is going on right now. And that's a much better place to watch than TikTok. Hello, Mr. Meowcat. Welcome. Frane's going to be joining us soon. Audio check. Is our audio doing okay? Are the production values good? Here at the
You're on Discord.
Yeah, it's okay on Discord. All okay. Crystal clear. Great. So, welcome everyone from near or far, whether you're joining through Discord or YouTube or even seeing this live now on TikTok. So, we are here together for our Buddhist book club, part 5, and we are looking at Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Art of Living. And so, while this is part 5, we're still on chapter 1. And even if you haven't read anything about Buddhism or read any of this book, this kind of event and this exploration of Buddhist teachings is still going to be quite accessible, quite plain, quite clear. So something to keep in mind is in this practice is that it is a very meditative practice. This isn't a study group per se. We're not academics, but we're really approaching these teachings as practitioners, as people on the path. And what is that path? That path is ending suffering, healing our suffering, bringing peace, well-being, stability, and empowerment into our lives. So if you're interested in the Buddhist approach, the Buddhist perspective in doing that, you're at the right place. But to bring up this meditation quality of mind, we're going to start with just a few moments to kind of settle and gather our mind and kind of frame our practice um, at the beginning here to be more meditative, more contemplative, more explorative than we may usually be accustomed to. So if you will be so kind to follow me, um, first let's change our position, or rather let's find a comfortable and stable position for our body. So for me, I'm sitting in a kind of office chair, but I like to crisscross my legs and sit in the office chair. And the idea here is not that you put on a robe or become a yoga instructor. You don't even need to sit cross-legged, but bringing some mindfulness and some awareness to your body and finding a comfortable and a stable position to be in at this moment. So you can take a moment to find that position. Kind of comfortable, kind of stable, upright, and bringing this intentionality and this awareness to your body. And then as you find that somewhat comfortable, somewhat stable position, not going to be perfect, but as you find that position, you can close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. A few deep breaths in that way. And so we're not going into a big meditation, but really collecting, gathering our mind to be here in the present, to be very close with our experience at this moment. So we are breathing in our awareness of mind. We are breathing in our awareness of the body at this moment. And we are breathing out a kind of releasing, letting go of activity, letting go of motion, letting go of any kind of friction or struggle. So very simply, we are breathing in, being aware of the whole body right now, and breathing out, we are letting go of any friction, any struggle, any ideas about we need to do this or we need to do that, but just sitting here right now. And after taking a few deep breaths, you may find that your mind kind of settles down, and finding your mind to be a bit settled down, we can then allow our breath to find a natural rhythm, coming in and going out through the nose. Our breath coming in and going out through the nose. And so we can find ourselves in this position of just breathing and being aware at this moment. No struggle, no big activity, no confusion, no figuring out this experience, but just breathing, just being very aware and close to this present moment, close to our experience right now. And from this place of intimacy with ourselves, presence, kind of aliveness of like, we're really tuning in, we're really here right now. From that place, we can bring up our intention. Why are we here? To bring up our sincerity in really wanting to be here, really wanting to listen deeply, really wanting to be wholeheartedly present to this activity, this deep listening, these wisdom teachings, these Dharma teachings from Thich Nhat Hanh. And so we really set our intention that we do want to do that. And that we are here to bring a sense of wisdom and skillfulness in embracing the suffering of our life, in finding out about this art of living, this art of being at peace. And making a kind of resolution and a commitment to practice that together. Okay, so we'll now start with our reading of Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Art of Living. And feel free to kind of ask a question or to share or to point something out, anything that resonates with you from this reading. If you would like to read, if you have the book in front of you, please do let me know, make me aware of that. And this is very much a community practice and a community exploration of these teachings. So asking the questions and sharing if something inspires you or something stands out to you is very, very valuable for all of us. Okay, and maybe at some points we will stop in the reading and kind of question, did anything resonate with you? Did anything come up for you that was very meaningful? And what was that? All right, does it sound good for everyone? Everyone ready to begin? Okay, Frane's here. Frane's ready to begin. Awesome. So the title of this first section is there reincarnation? This question of is there reincarnation? And this is a big topic for a lot of people when they think about Buddhism. They think about, well, Buddhism sounds cool, but I don't quite believe in becoming a caterpillar in my next life. Well, let's see what this is all about. Is there reincarnation on the subject of the art of living? Many of us are resistant to the idea that one day we will die. At the same time, we want to know what happens when we die. Some of us believe we will go to heaven and live happily there. For others, it seems life is too short and we want another chance to do better next time around. This is why the idea of reincarnation seems very appealing. We may hope that the people who have committed acts of violence will be brought to justice in the next life and be made to pay for their crimes. Or perhaps we are afraid of nothingness, of oblivion, of not existing anymore. Also, just a disclaimer, as we listen to these teachings, it's very important that we listening from this meditation mind. We listening from this place of intimacy with our meditation practice, the breath, our awareness, our embodiment. And when we find that the mind kind of starts to jump off, we come back to the breath, we come back to the body, and to really being present and deeply aware so that we are receiving this wisdom. Or maybe it's not wisdom, but at least we receive it and then we can share and explore about it. Okay? So perhaps we are afraid of nothingness, of oblivion, of not existing anymore. And so maybe this is why this idea of reincarnation seems to be appealing. And so when our body starts to age and disintegrate, it is tempting to think we might have the opportunity to start again in a young and healthy body, like discarding worn out clothes. The idea of reincarnation suggests there is a separate soul, self, or spirit that somehow leaves the body at death, flies away, and then reincarnates in another body. It's as though the body is some kind of house for the mind, soul, or spirit. This implies that the mind and body can be separated from each other, and that although the body is impermanent, the mind and spirit are somehow permanent. So even, I will add this, that even for people who have a deeply Christian kind of leaning, you know, they believe that they will go to heaven or, that the soul is eternal, there's a very clear awareness for all of us that this body is not permanent. So that's something that's very shared, in Eastern philosophy or Eastern religion, certainly Buddhism and with Christianity, is that this body is a deeply impermanent phenomena. It's not fixed, it's not permanent in any way. And also to be aware that, we value the body so much, and our ideas about ourselves and our ideas about, who we would be when we go to heaven or who we would be when we go to hell, they're so deeply connected to this experience of a body. And yet, whether you're a Christian or a different religion, it's abundantly clear and accepted that this body is totally impermanent. I don't even, there's no really religion that has this idea of a permanent body. I don't know how they define the soul so much, but I think that's a really interesting point. So the idea of reincarnation suggests there is a separate soul, self, or spirit that somehow leaves the body at death, flies away, and then reincarnates in another body. It is as though the body is some kind of house for the mind, soul, or spirit. This implies that the mind and body can be separated from each other, and that although the body is impermanent, the mind and spirit are somehow permanent. But neither of these ideas is in accord with the deepest teachings of Buddhism. We can speak of two kinds of Buddhism: popular Buddhism and deep Buddhism. Different audiences need different kinds of teachings, so the teachings should always be adapted in order to be appropriate to the audience. This is something I definitely consider a lot about in doing like online teaching. Sometimes I'm in TikTok being called a bald person. So how do you teach for someone like that? And how do you kind of relate and communicate for someone in that position? But the point of Buddhism is to end suffering, not to promote a doctrine. And the teachings here, it's relevant to you or it's not, and you need to find a way that it relates to you, or it's not possible for it to be effective. So different audiences need different kinds of teachings. So the teachings should always be adapted in order to be appropriate to the audience. This is why there are thousands of different points of entry into the teachings, enabling many kinds of people to benefit and experience transformation and relief from their suffering. In popular Buddhist culture, it is said there are countless hell realms that we can fall into after dying. Many temples display vivid illustrations of what can happen to us in the hell realms. For example, if we lie in this lifetime, our tongue will be cut out in the next. This is a kind of skillful means to motivate people to live their lives in more ethical ways. This approach may help some people, but it may not help others. Although these teachings are not in accord with the ultimate truth, many people benefit from them. Nevertheless, with compassion, skill, and understanding, we may be able to help one another gradually release our current views and deepen our understanding. We can say that the process and the practice of meditation is very, very much an activity of helping ourselves, and certainly when we practice meditation together and look at teachings like this, helping one another gradually release our current views, gradually release and let go of what we are currently hanging on to, attached to, and thereby to deepen our understanding, to deepen our experience. If we want to open up to a new way of looking at life and death and what happens after death, we need to let go of our present views in order to allow a deeper understanding to emerge. If we want to climb a ladder, we have to let go of one rung in order to reach the next one. If we cling to the views we presently hold, we cannot progress. Will anyone like to share about what we've read so far? Anyone have an inspiration so far? We have a question from Keem in the YouTube live chat, and Keem, of course, also a member of our Discord. Keem says, if there is noticeable suffering happening constantly, should one be inviting to it recognizing it as a part of oneself, or should one not be okay with this and work towards ceasing that feeling? I think from my point of view, being with that suffering is kind of what lessens our attachment to it and our holding on to it. Um, but I don't think we should see it as bad. I think we should take it as a kind of, I often say this, we have more responsibility. If you have a more suffering, you have a more responsibility. If you happen to be in poverty for one reason or another, you have more responsibility to deal with that. You don't have those privileges. And for some of us, we have mental health issues or trauma in our background. And so that puts us into a position of responsibility, to take care of that or to be with it, because we kind of have to be with it. There's no other way to go about it. Um, I don't think that that difficulty or that suffering is bad. Um, I think that we should work towards being with what we are experiencing, being very close to it and taking care of it as much as we are possible. Maybe someone else can share about that question. I'll read it again. Keem says, if there is notable suffering happening constantly, should one be inviting to it, recognizing it as a part of oneself, or should one not be okay with it and work towards ending that feeling, ceasing that feeling? And Keem mentions that they don't feel that it's a binary issue, not necessarily one thing or the other. Miss Maddie says in the Discord text chat, Miss Maddie says, I think our suffering makes us suffer less moving forward. Okay. Uh, Anyone else like to share something about it? So Frayne has a question. Frayne says, I have a question. It is that you said if you lie in your next life, your tongue will be, if you lie, then in your next life, your tongue will be cut out. But in human life, it is normal to lie. It is bad, but it is normal. Everyone lied at least once while they were just a kid. So the teaching here, Frayne, is skillful encouragements. And for some people, it's going to be helpful for them. In other people, it's not going to be helpful. But for a certain person, if you told them that, look, in your next life, your tongue is going to be cut out if you lie in this life, for a certain person, that we can understand, that may encourage them to not lie and to speak very truthfully. And to speak truthfully is good. But that idea of, if you lie right now, then in your next life your tongue will be cut out. That idea is simply about encouraging people to tell the truth, and it doesn't represent the deeper teachings of Buddhism. I certainly wouldn't tell someone that. Um,
Thanks for the answer, Bante.
yeah, you're welcome, Frame. Vanessa shares in the text chat, and if you can use your microphone, you're very welcome to do that. But Vanessa says, um, what Thich Nhat Hanh writes, that you need to let go of your present views to evolve. I think that's true not only for questions about death, but generally, and it makes me want to be more mindful in general about my views even more. Me too, Vanessa. Me too. Okay, so I think we will continue on with our reading. All right. And this is a anecdote from Thich Nhat Hanh, so reading it from Thich Nhat Hanh's perspective. In the beginning, I had certain ideas about mindfulness, meditation, and Buddhism. After 10 years of practice, I had a much better understanding. Then, after 40 or 50 years, my insight and understanding had become even deeper. We are all on a path. We are all making progress. And along the way, we need to be ready to abandon our current view so we can be open to a new, better, and deeper view. One which brings us closer to the truth. One which is more helpful for transforming our suffering and cultivating happiness. So to be quite ready, even enthusiastic about letting go of strongly held views, especially those that have affected us negatively in the past. Whatever views we hold, so whatever perspectives that we hold, whatever ideas that we have about reality that we are holding on to, whatever views we hold, we should be careful not to get caught up in thinking that our view is the best and that only we have the truth. The spirit of Buddhism is very tolerant. We should always keep our hearts open to the people who have different views or beliefs. Practicing openness and non-attachment to views is fundamental in Buddhism. That is why, even though there are dozens of different schools of Buddhism, Buddhists have never waged a holy war against each other. So that's the end of that section. Is reincarnation real? That was Thich Nhat Hanh's answer. So maybe some of the people who are still waiting to find out if they will become a caterpillar in the next life are displeased. But, Thich Nhat Hanh's certainly a trustworthy source. So we'll have to accept his answer for that. And someone on TikTok curiously asked, isn't Buddhism a strongly held view? And it can be, right? We can have very strongly held views about Buddhism that put us in a position where we are unwilling to be open to better, more skillful views, more compassionate, um, more openness, because we're holding on to a view very strongly, even if it's Buddhism, it can cause the same effect. Anyone like to share about this section, this topic of is reincarnation real? I really like what Patrick just shared in the YouTube live chat. Patrick said, um, what to do if you lose empathy for others when all seem foolish and misguided, or better said, how to find the good in others when thoughts and others' words deem them wrong or harmful. How to feel a friend to all in darker days. I think by realizing that we are suffering, we are going through a difficulty, we are not perfect, and that people who, bring darkness into the world, they are going through suffering. And it's not by a random chance that they are acting that way, it's because they're suffering. Um, the worst thing is getting into a mindset where we think that other people aren't suffering just because we don't experience them. You can almost say for sure that if someone is causing suffering in the world, especially like clearly, they're suffering deeply. And so we can have a kind of understanding and a kind of compassion for their situation. It's not just a random evilness. Um, they're suffering. And that doesn't mean that you need to be a victim to them or to put yourself in a lower position than them, but just to understand that, there's a reason they're acting that way, and it's not because they're happy and joyful, and living the perfect life. So let's continue on with our reading. Oh, this is a good one. This says, the cream of the Buddha's teaching. So this next section here is entitled, The Cream of the Buddha's Teaching. And hopefully it's a vegan cream. We can all hope for vegan cream. The spiritual context of ancient India had a strong influence on the Buddha's teachings. Buddhism is made of non-Buddhist elements, in the same way that a flower is made of non-flower elements. In the West, Buddhism is often associated with the ideas of reincarnation, karma, and retribution, but these are not originally Buddhist concepts. They were already well established when the Buddha began teaching. In fact, they were not at all the heart of what the Buddha taught. So they were, in fact, not at all at the heart of what the Buddha taught. And it's interesting because that is true, uh, having a lot of experiences with Western people as a monk, they always say, what about rebirth? What about reincarnation? What about karma? That's kind of the constant idea that comes up. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who is we can say one of the foremost teachers of Buddhism in the world, is saying that, look, these are not really at the heart of the Buddha's teachings, nor are they originally Buddhist. So in ancient India, reincarnation, karma, and retribution were all taught based on the idea of the existence of a self. There was a widely held belief in a permanent self that reincarnated and received karmic retribution for actions in this lifetime. But when the Buddha taught reincarnation, karma, and retribution, he taught them in the light of no self, impermanence, and nirvana. Nirvana is enlightenment, awakening. Our true nature of no birth and no death. The Buddha taught that it is not necessary to have a separate, unchanging self in order for karma, actions of body, speech, and mind to be continued. And we can also think of karma as a cause and effect. It's a very reasonable way to understand karma. According to the Buddha's core teachings on no self, impermanence, and interbeing, the mind is not a separate entity. The mind cannot leave the body and reincarnate somewhere else. If the mind or spirit is taken from the body, the spirit no longer exists. Body and mind depend on each other in order to exist. Whatever happens in the body influences the mind, and whatever happens in the mind influences the body. Consciousness relies on the body to manifest. Our feelings need to have a body in order to be felt. Without a body, how could we feel? But this doesn't mean that when the body is dead, we disappear. Our body and mind are a source of energy. And when that energy is no longer manifesting in the forms of body and mind, it manifests in other forms, in our actions of body, speech, and mind. So perhaps we can say here that the body is a source of energy, a source of actions and speech and effect in the world. And when that energy, when that kind of intentional, volitional cause and effect is no longer manifesting in the forms of a body and mind as we think of it, it doesn't just disappear, it's still manifesting. It manifests in other forms, in our actions of body, speech, and mind. So how we affected the world, how we affected the people who are close to us, this continuation of our energy, of our interbeing continues. But it doesn't need to continue in terms of a separate self or a soul. We don't need a permanent, separate self in order to reap the consequences of our actions. Are you the same person you were last year, or are you different? Even in this lifetime, we cannot say that the one who sowed good seeds last year is exactly the same person as the one who reaps the benefits this year. So we can ask this question to everybody. Are you the same person you were last year, or are you different? Are you the same person you were last year, or are you different? Anyone have a good answer for that? Oh, okay. Charity says they're totally different now. Yusef says, I'm different from my last month, let alone last year. Vanessa says, certainly different. Eddie over on TikTok says, doesn't speak about themselves. They say you are the same person as you were born. Okay, another perspective. Anyone over on YouTube have this this idea of, are you the same person as you were last year? Okay, Alpha Cat says they don't know. That's a good answer, I think. I like not knowing. There's a Zen teaching that not knowing is most intimate. So very close to our bare, open awareness, this not knowing. Matt says they are the same. Matt thinks they're the same. Sunflower says, I am me and will always be me, but my mindset is different. So changing mindset. And Keem says, I think I'm totally different every day. Trina says, I'm still learning who I am. Okay, Sammy says, I think at my core I'm the same, but my character definitely has changed. So for me, I read something before from Thich Nhat Hanh where he uh, gave an exercise where he pointed to like a picture of him as a child and gave a teaching something like, now this is how I remember it, but gave a teaching that I can't say that I am that person, but I also can't say that I'm not that person. And I feel that way. We are responsible, we are related to that situation, those experiences in the past, I think. But we couldn't necessarily say that that's who we are. Kind of a cause and effect, changing, interbeing comes to mind. Many different perspectives for this kind of question. And I think that that willingness to ask in a very sincere, kind of contemplative way is very, very worthwhile. You know, maybe there isn't this perfect right answer to this question, but just to question, to explore, to kind of, am I the same person that I was last year? Not in terms of good or bad, but in terms of your nature, you know, who you are, what you are. Okay, so let's continue on. Onward and upward, or we can say backward and downward. Let's try both at the same time. But certainly, even in this lifetime, we cannot say that the person who sowed good seeds last year is exactly the same person as the one who reaps the benefits this year. Unfortunately, many Buddhists still hold on to the idea of a self to help them understand the teachings on reincarnation, karma, and retribution. But this is a very not diluted, but diluted. So only a little bit of chlorine in the pool, not too much. So understanding reincarnation, karma, and retribution through the idea of a self is a very diluted kind of Buddhism because it has lost the essence of the Buddhist teachings on no self, impermanence, and our true nature of no birth and no death. We can say just this. Any teaching that does not reflect these insights is not the deepest Buddhist teaching. These are the three doors of liberation: emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness. Embody the cream of the Buddha's teachings. So the three doors of liberation, emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness, embody the cream of the Buddha's teachings, the vegan cream of the Buddha's teachings. In Buddhism, if you touch the reality of interbeing, impermanence, and no self, you understand reincarnation in quite a different way. You see that rebirth is possible without a self. Karma, cause and effect, is possible without a self. And retribution is possible without a self. We are all dying and being reborn at every moment. This manifestation of life gives way to another manifestation of life, moment to moment, breath by breath. There is a freshness, a dynamicness, an opportunity to get involved, an opportunity to, at a moment's notice, to step out of the swamp, at a moment's notice to do something skillful. Even if you are in the situation of depression, anxiety, bad habits, you've been having a tough go recently. We are all dying and being reborn at every moment, This manifestation of life at this moment gives way to another manifestation of life at this very moment, not in some distant future where, we meet our ideal situation and then we can fix or we can get better. This self can get better. But rather, we are all dying and being reborn at every moment. This manifestation of life gives way to another manifestation of life. We are continued in our children, in our students, in everyone's lives who we have touched, in everyone whose lives we have touched. Rebirth is a better description than reincarnation. When a cloud turns to rain, we cannot say that a cloud is reincarnated in the rain. Continuation, transformation, and manifestation are all good words. But perhaps the best word is re-manifestation. The rain is a re-manifestation of the cloud. Our actions of body, speech, and mind are a kind of energy we are always transmitting. And that energy manifests itself in different forms again and again. Once a young child asked me, "How does it feel to be dead?" This is a very good, very deep question. I used the example of a cloud to explain to her about birth, death, and continuation. I explained that a cloud can never die. A cloud can only become something else, like rain or snow or hail. When you are a cloud, you feel like a cloud. And when you become rain, you feel like the rain. And when you become snow, you feel like the snow. Re-manifestation is wonderful. So feeling the way that we are right now at this moment, how wonderful that is. And there is such a diversity and such a openness and a explorativeness about this multifaceted kaleidoscopal experience that we're having moment to moment. It's quite precious, it's quite wonderful. And we far too often box ourselves into this particular idea of getting something, getting rid of something, fixing something. And a lot of these ideas come back to this sense of a self, this fixed idea of this person who we were or are or who we should be. But when you can put all that down and experience without the need for a self, without the need for a separation from your experience right now, there is this kind of, wow, there's so much to bring happiness to us. There's so much to bring a calm in the midst of the storm by being the storm, by not being shy about being the storm, experiencing the way that things are right now. So this re-manifestation, this moment-to-moment birth and death, this moment-to-moment arising and passing away is liberating. It is freeing. And I imagine about how strongly we as human beings have a value on ourselves and our lives. Oh my goodness, I better not die anytime soon. We couldn't even think about death. We couldn't even imagine that death is real. And yet Thich Nhat Hanh here, certainly seems reliable, seems like a pretty sweet teacher, I will say, is saying that, look, this is happening moment to moment. Birth and death are happening moment to moment, and it's not something to be miserable about. It's not something to be upset about, but that it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's amazing that we have this opportunity to continue and to continue our good intentions and living skillfully and just experiencing um, the way that things are right now. So we've reached a milestone in our Buddhist book club in that we have just finished chapter 1. And so we can all take a deep breath, and perhaps someone would like to share or ask a question about what we've read up to now. It doesn't need to be super specific or anything like that, but an opportunity to share, opportunity to ask a question is open. And then, after these moments of space for sharing and for asking a question, very, very special surprise in our final portion of the Buddhist Book Club live stream today. So you want to stick around for that.
Yes, I have a question, Bante.
Okay, Frayne, go ahead. What kind of question you have?
How did Buddha know there was nirvana?
Well, we will say that the Buddha is called the Buddha because he was self-enlightened, we will say. But let me ask your question, Bante. How did the Buddha know? Can you say it again, Frayne?
How did the Buddha know there was nirvana?
How did the Buddha know there was nirvana? Yeah. How did the Buddha know there was? So are you saying how did the Buddha know there was a nirvana, Frayne?
Yes, how did he know there was a nirvana? Because no one told him.
No, he say how did the Buddha know that there was this experience of enlightenment, this nirvana? How did he know about it? Or how did he experience it? Yeah. What do you think, Frayne? Can you clarify it? Because are you asking, did the Buddha know about nirvana before he is enlightened?
I'm asking how did he know there was nirvana compared to I forgot his name, but compared
Samsara.
to the guy that made Islam, he got a message from the angel Gabriel that said, "Yeah, there is heaven, and
Oh,
Allah wants you to share
so
that
how?
message and save him of Jesus."
Let me relay your question. So how did the Buddha know there was nirvana and not just samsara?
Yeah. So because he completely stopped his complete actions. That is mind. Mind is the carrier. So that is the builder.
He didn't know it until he experienced it.
Yeah, he didn't know. After that, he don't know.
Yeah.
Because after that, he realized that what happens. Then he clarify about the past and think about the future. Then he understand that there's no future. Depend on if you stop the builder. There's the mind. So if you stop the mind, so there's no other minds to regenerate the energy. So there's no energy. So then this stop.
So, Frayne, the answer to your question is that the Buddha didn't know until he experienced it. The Buddha didn't know nirvana until the mind is a stopped. The mind is a finished. And the Buddha experienced that because he lived a skillful life, he practiced meditation, and he just sit. And he make a commitment, he's not going to move. He's not going to be controlled by desire. He's not going to be controlled by fear or aversion. Just to sit, to be aware, and to see, what is this? And Buddha experienced enlightenment. But no one told the Buddha about nirvana. No one told the Buddha about this special place. That's why when we talk about the Buddha's enlightenment, it is that the Buddha woke up. The Buddha woke up to see a truth.
Thank you for the answer, Bante.
Okay. Yeah, it was with the support of my dear friend, my senior Bante here. senior monk here.
You can thank him for me.
Yes. And what country are you in, Frain?
I'm in Canada right
yeah.
now.
A young man from Canada says thank you
Okay.
for your answer.
Welcome.
Yeah. You're very welcome, Frain. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah? Someone want to share? Yusef? Okay. Yusef, are you there? Did you want to share something? Hmm. So Andreas says, so we should consider life as very important because we can break this cycle. That's one of the Buddhist ideas too, to call ourselves lucky because we get the chance, right? This preciousness of life, to wake up, to have a healthy body, to have a healthy mind, relatively healthy. It's a really precious opportunity because we can wake up. We can see our nature. We can end suffering. And that's very much kind of our Buddhist praxis, or our Buddhist idea, is that, yeah, there is a suffering in life. There's a cause of suffering, which is our kind of craving, our desire, our attachment, but also that there is an ending of suffering, that we can deeply improve our peace. We can end suffering. We can experience total happiness. So that's a big part of the Buddhist idea, quite optimistic. People sometimes say that Buddhism is like nihilistic, that it's nihilism, but actually, our first noble truth is that there is suffering, but our third noble truth is that there's an ending to suffering. So it's quite positive. It's not so defeatist. Okay. So we are officially wrapped up with our chapter 1 of the Buddhist Book Club, our book, The Art of Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. If you're not already in the Discord server, you're certainly welcome to join, and we have copies of the book in the Discord server. And we will go ahead and get into the final portion of our Buddhist Book Club, which is a real deepening, sinking in, establishing peace, practicing meditation. So let us take a few moments to get comfortable. You can adjust your posture, and we'll have a bit of a guided meditation together here in our wrapping up. And if you have any final questions, or afterwards, after we're officially finished, I'll stick around and we can have a bit of a talk. Okay. But for now, let's find a comfortable position for our body, whatever that may be for you. Can take a moment to find that position. And once we find that comfortable position, we can close our eyes if we like, and start to bring our focus, our attention, our awareness onto the breath. Breathing in, bringing the mind and our awareness to the body. So as we breathe in, we are aware of the body. And we allow the body to relax and to settle into whatever position we find ourselves in right now. And noticing any uncomfortableness, any tension in your position, and you can just gently adjust so that you really are comfortable, that you really are stable, and continuing to breathe in and out with a lot of sincerity. And whatever we got, whatever we experienced today, just kind of letting that go. Just breathing. Just being aware at this moment. And everything that we experience right now, everything that we notice, noticing it, being aware of it, and returning back to the breath coming in and going out. So our only job, our only responsibility at this moment is just breathing and being aware. It's almost as if we aren't really doing anything, but more that we are allowing ourselves for just a few moments to just breathe, just be aware, aware of the body, aware of the breath, aware of the mind, without any judgment or any goal, just breathing. So thank you everyone so much for joining in this part 5 of our Buddha book club. We have this event hopefully weekly. We'll continue to have it, and you are invited and encouraged to continue attending, and to also go back and look at the past videos if you like. If you're not already on our Discord server, you're very welcome to join. And for those lovely people who were joining today on the Discord server, it's so great to see everyone. It's nice to have a gathering of our community together. All right, so that will be the official end of our meeting together. But if you're on the Discord, we can stick around and have a bit of a chat to check in as people would like. Okay, so goodbye TikTok and goodbye to YouTube. See you next week. See you again soon.